Chapter 3: Avoiding situations where you might feel the need to please others. Don't put yourself in situations where you'll feel the need to please others. Sometimes, we can get caught up in the need to please others, whether it's our boss, our friends, or our family. This can lead to us feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and can even impact our ability to say no when we need to. If you find yourself in situations where you feel like you need to please others all the time, there are a few things you can do to change that. First, try to identify the situations that make you feel this way. Is it when you're at work? With certain people? In certain environments? Once you've identified the triggers, you can start to work on avoiding them. If you can't avoid the situation entirely, see if there's anything you can do to change your mindset going into it. For example, if you know you're going to be around people who are always asking for favors, remind yourself that you don't have to say yes to everything. Or, if you're going into a situation where you know you'll be tempted to spend money, set a budget for yourself beforehand so that you have a limit. Making these small changes can help reduce the amount of stress you feel in situations where you need to please others, and can help you start saying no more often. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. You have the right to say no and to not feel guilty about it. If someone asks you to do something that you really don't want to do, it's okay to say no. Just be assertive and firm in your response. Say no when you need to. It's okay to turn down invitations or requests if you're not up for it. You don't have to explain yourself or give a long speech about why you're saying no. Just a simple "no, thank you" will suffice. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. If someone is treating you badly or taking advantage of you, speak up and let them know that you're not going to tolerate it. Set boundaries and stick to them. Don't let others take advantage of you. If you find yourself always doing favors for others or bending over backwards to please them, it's time to start saying no. You deserve to be treated with respect and not taken advantage of. Set boundaries and stick to them. If you don't want someone in your personal space, make it known. If you're not comfortable with something, say so. It's okay to put your foot down and stand up for yourself. Don't be a people pleaser. You don't have to say yes to everything or go along with everything just to make others happy. It's okay to be assertive and stand up for what you want. Don't do things you don't want to do just to make others happy. If you really don't want to do something, don't do it. You're not obligated to please others all the time. Be assertive and learn to communicate effectively. If you're not comfortable with something, speak up and say so. Learn to communicate your needs and wants in a clear and concise way. Practice self-care and put your own needs first sometimes. It's important to take care of yourself both physically and emotionally. Make sure to schedule in some time for yourself every week where you can relax and do something that you enjoy. Seek professional help if you need it. If you find that you're struggling to cope with people-pleasing or setting boundaries, it may be time to seek out professional help. A therapist can assist you in learning how to better manage your relationships and take care of yourself. Be assertive and set boundaries with people. Being assertive means being confident and standing up for yourself, while also respecting the rights of others. It can be difficult to be assertive, especially if you're used to people walking all over you. However, it's an important skill to learn in order to build healthy relationships and protect your own mental and emotional well-being. There are a few key things to keep in mind when you're being assertive. Be clear and concise in your communication. For example, instead of saying, "I'm really upset that you didn't call me back," try, "I felt ignored when you didn't call me back." Use I statements. This will help to avoid sounding accusatory. For example, "I felt disrespected when you talked over me in that meeting" sounds less confrontational than "you're so disrespectful and always talking over me." Avoid using absolutes. Words like never and always are rarely accurate, and they'll just make the other person defensive. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try something like, "I feel unheard when we don't spend time talking about my day." Be aware of your body language and tone. Your words will carry more weight if you're speaking confidently and making eye contact. Avoid crossing your arms or fidgeting, as this can make you appear nervous or unsettled. Prepare what you're going to say ahead of time. If you know you're going to be in a situation where you'll need to be assertive, it can help to have a few key phrases in mind so that you don't get tongue-tied in the moment. Practice saying no. It can be difficult to turn people down, but it's important to learn how to set boundaries. Saying no doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be as simple as, "Thanks for asking, but I don't think that's something I'm interested in." Be prepared for a negative reaction. The other person might not take your assertiveness well, and they might react negatively. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, it just means that you need to be prepared to stand your ground. Don't make excuses. If you find yourself making excuses for why you can't do something or why you didn't do something, it's a sign that you're not being assertive enough. For example, instead of saying, "I'm sorry I didn't call you back, but I was really busy," try, "I was busy, so I didn't call you back." Don't take things personally. It's important to remember that not everything is about you. If the other person is having a bad day, it might have nothing to do with you or how assertive you're being. Be prepared to walk away. If the other person isn't respecting your boundaries or they're not willing to listen to you, then it might be time to walk away from the situation. This doesn't mean that you failed, it just means that you need to take care of yourself first and foremost. Say no when you need to, without feeling guilty. When I talk of guilt, I am referring to the icky, yucky feeling that arises when we think we are disappointing someone or let them down in some way. The feeling of guilt can be so strong and persuasive that it can actually override our logic and better judgment. We may find ourselves saying yes to things we don't really want to do, or going along with things we know are not good for us, all because we don't want to upset the other person or cause them any inconvenience. Of course, there is nothing wrong with being considerate of others and wanting to make them happy. But when it starts costing us our own happiness and well-being, then it is time to draw the line. If you find yourself regularly succumbing to guilt, here are some tips to help you start saying no without feeling guilty. Recognize your worth. The first step to overcoming guilt is to recognize your own worth. You are not obligated to please everyone all the time. You are not responsible for making everyone happy. And you certainly should not sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of others. Understand your limits. It is also important to understand your limits, both physically and emotionally. If you are already stretched thin, then it is unfair to expect yourself to do even more. This will only lead to resentment, and resentment will only breed more guilt. Set boundaries. There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries and sticking. We sometimes feel guilty because we think we're disappointing others or let them down. But sometimes, saying no is the best thing you can do, for yourself and for them. Be clear about your boundaries. This means knowing what you're willing and not willing to do. When you know your boundaries, it's easier to say no when someone asks you to do something that doesn't fit within them. Communicate your decision clearly and concisely. This means being assertive and firm in your delivery. Avoid apologizing or making excuses, simply state your decision in a confident manner. Don't feel like you need to justify your decision. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're saying no. If they press you for a reason, simply reiterate that it's what you want or need to do. Be prepared for pushback. Some people may not take kindly to hearing the word no. Be prepared for this by remaining calm and confident in your decision. Don't take it personally. If someone reacts negatively to your decision, try not to take it to heart. They may be reacting out of their own frustration or disappointment, and it doesn't necessarily reflect on you or your decision. Avoid making promises you can't keep. If you find yourself saying yes to everything in an effort to avoid conflict or please others, you're likely setting yourself up for failure. Be honest about what you can and cannot do, and only make promises that you know you can keep. Don't be afraid to say no to authority figures. Just because someone is in a position of power doesn't mean you have to do what they say. If you're being asked to do something that goes against your values or beliefs, it's okay to say no. Be assertive, not aggressive. It's important to be firm in your decision, but there's no need to be rude or confrontational about it. State your decision in a confident and respectful manner. Practice saying no. If you're not used to saying no, it can be helpful to practice beforehand. This will help you feel more confident and comfortable when the time comes to actually say no. Remember that it's okay to say no. At the end of the day, only you know what's best for you. Trust your gut and don't be afraid to say no when you need to. Learn to be comfortable with being alone and doing things by yourself. Being alone doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, it can be quite beneficial to spend some time alone every now and then. Being alone can help you relax and recharge, and it can give you some time to think and reflect. And doing things by yourself can also be a good experience. It can help you learn how to be independent and resourceful. People-pleasing often comes from a fear of being alone. We might think that if we're not around other people, we'll be bored or lonely. Or we might worry that people won't like us if we're not constantly available. But the truth is, being alone can be quite enjoyable, and it's definitely okay to say no to plans sometimes in order to spend some time by yourself. In fact, it can be really good for you. Here are some ways to get comfortable with being alone and doing things by yourself. Make time for yourself every day. This is important because it can help you relax and recharge. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, even just 20 minutes to yourself can make a difference. Do things that you enjoy. This could be anything from reading, to going for walks, to cooking or baking. Doing things that make you happy will help you feel good about spending time alone. Learn how to entertain yourself. This is a useful skill to have because it means you're never bored. There are lots of ways to entertain yourself, from playing games and puzzles, to listening to music or podcasts, to working on a creative project. Get rid of any negative associations with being alone. If you think of being alone as a bad thing, it will be harder to enjoy. But if you think of it as a chance to relax and recharge, it will be much easier. Don't feel like you have to fill every moment with activity. It's okay to just sit and do nothing sometimes. In fact, it can be quite beneficial. Just take some time to breathe and be in the moment. Connect with nature. Spending time outside in nature can help you feel more connected to the world around you, and it can be really calming and relaxing. Find ways to connect with others even when you're alone. This could involve reaching out to friends and family members, or connecting with like-minded people online. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you have to feel isolated. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is all about being present in the moment, and it can be a really great way to find peace and calm when you're by yourself. There are lots of ways to practice mindfulness, such as through meditation or simply paying attention to your thoughts and feelings. Be okay with feeling uncomfortable sometimes. It's normal to feel a bit uneasy when you're first getting used to being alone. But it's important to push through that discomfort and not let it stop you from enjoying your own company. Remember that being alone is only temporary. Even if you're spending a lot of time alone right now, it doesn't mean that it will always be like this. So try to make the most of it and enjoy the time you have to yourself. Spending time alone can be a really good experience, so don't be afraid to give it a try. Don't try to be someone you're not just to please others. This means that you should not change your behavior or appearance just to suit other people. You should be comfortable in your own skin and not try to be someone else. There are many reasons why you might feel the need to please others, but it is important to remember that you should always stay true to yourself. Trying to be someone you're not is usually a recipe for disaster. Here are some reasons why you shouldn't try to be someone you're not just to please others. It's not worth it. The first and most important reason why you shouldn't try to be someone you're not is because it's simply not worth it. It's not worth changing who you are as a person just to try and please someone else. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with yourself, so you should make sure that you're happy with who you are. You'll never be good enough. Even if you do manage to please someone by pretending to be someone you're not, it's likely that you'll never feel like you're good enough. You'll always be living in fear of being found out or exposed as a fraud. This is an incredibly stressful way to live, and it's simply not worth it. It's not sustainable. Pretending to be someone you're not is not a sustainable way to live. Sooner or later, the facade will crumble and you'll be left exposed. It's better to live an authentic life from the start rather than trying to sustain a false persona. You'll miss out on opportunities. If you're too busy focused on trying to please others, you'll miss out on opportunities to do things that you actually want to do. Life is too short to waste time on things that don't make you happy. Make sure that you're living your life for yourself and not for someone else. You'll resent others. If you're constantly changing who you are to please others, it's likely that you'll end up resenting them. Resentment is a destructive emotion that can poison your relationships. It's important to avoid this by staying true to yourself. You'll miss out on real connections. Pretending to be someone you're not will prevent you from forming real connections with others. When you're not being authentic, it's difficult to let people in and form genuine relationships. This can lead to a feeling of loneliness and isolation. You'll never be truly happy. You can never be truly happy if you're constantly trying to please others. Happiness comes from within, so you should focus on making yourself happy first and foremost. Once you're content with who you are, you'll be able to find happiness in other areas of your life. It's stressful. Trying to maintain a false persona is incredibly stressful. It's much less stressful to simply be yourself and let the chips fall where they may. You might lose yourself. If you're not careful, you might find that you lose yourself entirely in the process of trying to please others. It's important to remember who you are and what you want in life. Otherwise, you'll end up living a life that isn't truly yours. It's not worth the risk. There's always a risk involved in trying to be someone you're not. You might end up getting hurt or disappointed in the end. It's simply not worth taking that risk just to try and please someone else. Avoid toxic people and relationships that make you feel bad about yourself. There are different types of toxic people. There are those who are negative and always seem to bring you down, no matter what you do or say. There are also those who take advantage of you and your good nature. And then there are those who just make you feel bad about yourself, even if they don't mean to. Whatever the type, it's important to avoid these kinds of people and relationships if you want to be happy and successful in life. Be assertive and set boundaries. Toxic people often take advantage of others because they're afraid to stand up for themselves. If you're someone who tends to be a pushover, start practicing being more assertive. This doesn't mean being rude or aggressive, but it does mean speaking up for yourself and setting boundaries. For example, if someone asks you to do something you don't want to do, say no. If someone is constantly putting you down, tell them to stop. It's okay to stand up for yourself. Avoid negative people. Negative people are always complaining about something or someone. They're never happy and they're always bringing others down with them. If you can, avoid these kinds of people. If you can't avoid them, try not to let their negativity affect you. Surround yourself with positive people instead who will lift you up and make you feel good about yourself. Don't take things personally. Toxic people often say or do hurtful things because they're unhappy with themselves, not because of anything you've done. It's important not to take their words or actions personally. Instead, try to understand where they're coming from and have compassion for them. This doesn't mean you have to be friends with them, but it will help you to not let their toxicity affect you as much. Be mindful of your own happiness. Don't let toxic people control your happiness. If you're always trying to please someone else or make them happy, you're forgetting about your own happiness. It's important to focus on yourself and what makes you happy. Don't let someone else's unhappiness dictate how you feel. Don't compare yourself to others. Toxic people often make you feel bad about yourself by comparing you to others. They might say things like, "You're not as pretty as her," or "You're not as smart as him." These comparisons are meant to make you feel inferior and not good enough. It's important to remember that everyone is unique and special in their own way. You are just as valuable and worthy as anyone else, no matter what someone else might say or think. Be confident in yourself. One of the best ways to avoid toxic people and relationships is to be confident in yourself. If you believe in yourself and your own worth, no one can make you feel inferior or not good enough. It's important to love and accept yourself for who you are. This doesn't mean you can't strive to improve yourself, but it does mean that you should be happy with who you are right now. Don't try to change people. Toxic people often try to change others to suit their own needs or wants. For example, they might try to control how someone dresses or what they do with their free time. They might also try to make someone else feel guilty in order to get them to do something they want. It's important to remember that you can't change anyone but yourself. If someone is trying to change you, it's best to walk away from the relationship. Be honest with yourself. It's important to be honest with yourself about your own feelings and needs. If you're not happy with something in your life, make a change. Don't let toxic people or relationships control you. You have the power to make your own choices and decisions. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong or off in a relationship, it probably is. Trust your instincts and listen to what your gut is telling you. If you're feeling uncomfortable or like you're being taken advantage of, speak up or walk away from the situation. Seek professional help. If you find yourself in a toxic relationship that you can't seem to get out of, seek professional help. A therapist can help you to understand what's going on and how to deal with it. They can also help you to work through any feelings of low self-worth or insecurity. If you're struggling to deal with a toxic person in your life, don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Seek out supportive and positive relationships instead. The importance of having supportive and positive relationships cannot be understated. These types of relationships provide the love, care, and validation that people need in order to feel good about themselves. They also help to build self-esteem and confidence, which are two essential ingredients for being able to say no to others. For example, a friend who is always supportive and positive can help talk you out of doing something you don't really want to do, or they can be a shoulder to cry on when you're feeling overwhelmed. Find friends who will validate your feelings. This is useful because it allows you to communicate what you're thinking and feeling without judgment. For example, if you're feeling upset about something, a friend who is supportive and positive will be able to listen to you and validate your feelings instead of trying to fix the problem or tell you how you should feel. Have friends who you can rely on. This is important because it gives you a support system to fall back on when things get tough. For example, if you're going through a tough time, knowing that you have friends who will be there for you can make all the difference. Make sure your friends are trustworthy. This is crucial because it's important to be able to trust the people in your life. For example, if you tell your friend a secret, you need to be able to trust that they won't tell anyone else. Find friends who share your values. This is important because it helps you to feel like you're part of a community and that you have people in your life who understand you. For example, if you're vegetarian, it's nice to have friends who are also vegetarian so that you can share meals and recipes together. Seek out friends who are supportive and positive. This is important because these types of relationships help to build self-esteem and confidence, which are two essential ingredients for being able to say no to others. For example, if you're considering doing something that you really don't want to do, a friend who is supportive and positive can talk you out of it. Have friends who are different from you. This is important because it allows you to learn about new things and to gain a different perspective on the world. For example, if you're introverted, it can be nice to have friends who are extroverted so that you can learn how to enjoy social situations more. Make sure your friends make you feel good about yourself. This is essential because feeling good about yourself is necessary for being able to say no to others. For example, if you're considering doing something that you don't really want to do, but your friend makes you feel bad about yourself, then you're more likely to do it. Have friends who you can be yourself around. This is important because it allows you to relax and to be yourself without feeling like you have to put on a show. For example, if you're introverted, it can be nice to have friends who are also introverted so that you don't feel like you have to pretend to be someone you're not. Find friends who are non-judgmental. This is useful because it allows you to communicate what you're thinking and feeling without judgment. For example, if you're feeling upset about something, a friend who is non-judgmental will be able to listen to you and validate your feelings instead of trying to fix the problem or tell you how you should feel. Seek out friends who make you feel good about yourself. This is essential because feeling good about yourself is necessary for being able to say no to others. For example, if you're considering doing something that you don't really want to do, but your friend makes you feel good about yourself, then you're less likely to do it.
Work on building your self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence means having faith in oneself and one's abilities. It is different than arrogance because with confidence, there is no need to put others down to feel good about oneself. Self-esteem is the opinion we have of ourselves. People-pleasing often occurs when someone has low self-confidence or self-esteem. Get rid of perfectionism. It's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Give yourself credit for the effort you put in, not just the results. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer be focused on what others think of you and whether you meet their standards of perfection. Accept compliments. When someone pays you a compliment, say thank you and believe them. This isn't being conceited, it's acknowledging your value. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer be looking for validation from others, you will know your own worth. Set boundaries, know what you will and will not tolerate from others. This includes saying no when needed, even if it means disappointing someone. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer feel obligated to do things you don't want to do, you will respect yourself enough to put your own needs first. Don't compare yourself to others, you are on your own unique path and comparison only breeds insecurity. Focus on your own journey. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer be looking to others to see how you measure up, you will be content with who you are. Seek out supportive relationships, find people in your life who make you feel good about yourself, who accept and encourage you. Spend more time with these people and less time with those who bring you down. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer need to seek validation from others, you will have a solid support system. Be assertive. This doesn't mean being aggressive, it means standing up for yourself and expressing your needs in a clear and direct way. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer allow others to walk all over you, you will be able to advocate for yourself. Practice self-care, make sure to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. This includes doing things that make you happy, setting aside time for relaxation, and eating a healthy diet. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer be putting your own needs last, you will nurture yourself so that you can be your best. Be mindful of your thoughts. Negative self-talk only breeds insecurity and low self-esteem. Make an effort to catch yourself when you're thinking negative thoughts and reframe them in a more positive light. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer believe the lies you tell yourself. You will start to see yourself in a more positive light. Take risks. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. This could mean anything from starting a new hobby to traveling to a new country. Stepping outside of your comfort zone helps you to grow as a person and build confidence. This supports your journey of people-pleasing because you will no longer be afraid of change or new experiences. You will be open to new things and willing to try them. Be patient. Remember that confidence and self-esteem are built over time. It's not something that happens overnight. Be patient with yourself and focus on making progress, not being perfect. This supports your journey of not people-pleasing because you will no longer expect instantaneous results. You will be okay with taking things one day at a time.